Hello my fellow knitters and crocheters, my name is Kim and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about my January makes, my January cast-ons and crochet-ons. It's always kind of weird, like are you casting on crochet, chain-ons, however you want to call it, and even a little bit of cross-stitch. I think we'll start with that first because it's not something I really talk about on my channel, but I do like to cross-stitch, and I did pick up a very old work in progress. And that is this Koala Love, and this is from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I will be dropping a link below. If you use that link for a purchase of one of their cross stitches or any of their accessories, and if you're new to them, it will give you 20% off your order, which, you know, it's a good deal. And they have the cutest needle minders ever. This is one of them, and another little pumpkin. So cute. But this print or pattern they put out when Australia had all the wildfires that were killing a bunch of the koalas, and the proceeds went to that fund. And I purchased it way back then, and I've been working on it ever since and have not finished it. I think this even has a date of 2020 is when this happened, but I did work some more of the leaves. It is a counted cross stitch, and these are all my colors that I'm using. I'm using a bunch of DMC floss because that is my favorite. And I love seeing all the colors together. But I keep them while I'm working on them in snap bags from Jimmy Beans. These come in a pack of 3. I will link these down below. I am a Jimmy Beans affiliate, so it'll be affiliate link. But they're kind of like a mesh, and I like them because my cat will try to bite through them, and they can't really bite through them because they've tried. But they snap, and so sometimes I'll put knitting projects in these, and you can have the yarn coming out. But they're also great for my cross stitch, keeping everything together. And there. Let's go into completed knitting and crochet. 3 weeks ago, I had a live called Cast On Spin the Wheel, and basically it was just a fun way to pick my next pattern. And I honestly got the idea from a video game that I played called Fallout 76, because there's this new content update, and one of the new events that the whole server does together is called Spin the Wheel. And it's this circus tent, and it has this big wheel, and you go in and you spin it, and that determines what kind of mob or group of things come that you have to fight to defend, and that's how you finish the event. So I was like playing that, and I'm like, we should so have a cast-on spin the wheel, and that is what I created. But the way that I do my spin the wheel, because I think this is going to be something that I want to incorporate on my channel, just because it's me, because it involves also out of my love of video games. And it's just super fun. But I go in and I keep all of my things I want to make on Ravelry in the queue section. There is a video that I'm going to link right here, and you can click on that and see how to use Ravelry. There's a whole playlist of videos that I have, but I use the queue section of patterns that I want to make. And so I'll go in and I'll put all these numbers on the wheel. Then we kind of do some kind of parameters in the advanced search feature of the queue to kind of narrow it down depending on what's going on that month, and then we spin the wheel. Now whatever the wheel lands on that's in those search parameters is what I cast on and make for that month. Sometimes I can get it done in the whole month, sometimes I might not be able to get it done with the whole month, but the point is that I start it and hopefully finish it. If it is a paid for pattern, then during that live, I will do a giveaway and give that pattern away to someone else in the live video. If it's not, then I will definitely share the link so you can join along. And that's what happened with this. So this was a free knitted beanie, and that's what it landed on, and so that's what I made, and this is going to be for donation. And this is some Lion brand yarn in the base Thick and Quick, and the pattern is called Big Chunky Comfy Hat by Erica Kempf. Like I said, it's a free pattern. It worked up super fast. I only used 58 yards for this, and I made it exactly as the pattern called for. And I tried it on before I washed it, and it fits very well, and I've already washed it, so on all the edges. It's a super easy knit. When I chose that and I posted the link in the chat, one of the members, Debbie, actually made the hat with me, and she sent me a photo of her completed hat, and I posted that in my community tab, so it's still there. It's from about 3 weeks ago if you want to check that out. But it was a really great mix. I love this color yellow. I think it's a really pretty mustardy yellow. This is the colorway mustard, actually. It's super light, but there's one where I'm actually wearing it, and that's probably true to color for it. I have a lot more browns than what's showing up on camera, but it's super squishy, and I think it's going to make a really great donation hat for someone. I do like how the decreases worked up. You can kind of see them there, but super squishy, and it really stretches. So I got a long WIP off the needles. I was so excited. This thing I had cast on all the way back June 11th, 2020. So this was really kind of right after the whole pandemic started, and this was using Apple Fiber Studio yarns in their Macintosh base. They are a yarn company out of, I think, Wisconsin, and out of Washington, and Belling, Washington, and I had found them online on Facebook during the whole pandemic, and I started watching their live shows, and I ordered from them. They have really gorgeous yarn. And kind of what happened was she was showing these yarns, and I'm like, she showed this one yarn called Cloudy Day, which is this yellow base color with the gray. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that is so pretty. And they had a thing where if you buy 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn, you got the pattern Breathe Hope Shawl by Casablanca, which is what this is, for free. And then she showed some more yarn, and she was like, if you have any questions, just let us know. So I sent her a message, and I was like, I'm kind of looking for something to go with that gray cloudy day, because I love rainy cloudy days, and something that kind of would work with it for like a theme, and I wanted something blue like jeans. And so she actually had the yarn called Blue Jeans, so it was like a match made in heaven, and that is how this shawl was born. Breathe in hope even on a partly cloudy day, that are dark as my favorite jean shawl. See how that works? And this was a pretty fun knit. It was just very tedious. There's so many slip stitches. A lot of slip stitches. And if I was to redo this, I would definitely do brioche where the slip stitches are. I was worried I was going to have a lot of puckering, but I really do not have that much puckering at all. I did kind of have it drying weird. So that's why I kind of had, and I've worn it a couple times, so that's why it's kind of looking a little wrinkly. But it's gorgeous. And this is kind of where mine went crazy, and I've talked about this before, but this whole part right there, that one row, was only supposed to be every now and then. I wasn't paying attention when I was making mine, and I was doing it, I did the wrong repeat over and over and over, and I didn't realize that till about here. And at that point, I was like, I kind of really like it, and I didn't want to rip it back. So I just continued and used it as a design feature. So mine looks different than the original, and that's okay. I like that it's a little bit different. And then I even stopped counting the repeat. Like, I just would kind of did it till I was like, oh, okay, I like that. I'm bored with that now, so I'm going to go on to the next section. And I just kept doing that all the way across. And then when I got to the end, I really thought about how I wish I did brioche here, so I wanted to kind of have something going on down here that looked like this, and I thought about doing a 2-color ribbing, but then I was like, I should really just do some brioche, because I love brioche, and that's what I did. And this yarn looks stunning in some brioche. Like, that is so pretty. I love how that turned out. It really just finished off the end for me. It does kind of make it flare out just because it's such a ruby-like thing compared to the other part of the thing. But I don't care. I mean, it's super pretty. And I like how when I wear it, even though it's asymmetrical shawl, I really like how the brioche shows. So I was super excited and happy with how this turned out, even though it's not what it's supposed to be because of my error. But it's one of those things where it's just a design feature and it's a happy mistake. This shawl used a good bit of yarn. I used 878 yards total of fingering weight. So that's really about 2.1 skeins because one of my skeins was a little bit heavy. I always weigh my yarn before I start a project, and then I weigh it afterwards to get exact yardage for each color. So for the blue, the new jeans, I used exactly 450 yards, 0.1, which is 411.6 meters, 103 grams. And then for the cloudy day, which is the white gray, I used 428.3 yards and 98 grams. So a lot more the blue, but I seriously love this thing. This yarn is a 60% merino and 20% alpaca and 20% nylon. So this yarn can be used as socks because it does have some nylon to give it some durability, and the alpaca will make it nice and warm along with the merino. But I really wanted to use it as a shawl. I think with the alpaca, though, it may felt a little bit more and get a little bit more pilling, especially at your heels. And you can see, because of the alpaca, a little bit of halo, which is the little fluffy stuff. I knew I wanted to participate in the Amigurumi Wars 2023. I made that piece of pie last year in December for it, and I really wish I did more last year. I also made Boo the Ghost, who is up on that shelf up there, in October, and there, she has her own little short on my channel. And I knew I wanted to make something, but I honestly completely forgot about the make-along. Like, I don't even know. Then I was watching the Fibery Friends. So anyways, on their Fiber Friends, they were talking about the Amigurumi Wars. And it was like a little light bulb where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be making something. And so I made a note to go and watch the YOH Crochet, who is the main person of this whole hashtag and YouTube Streets thing. I will link her below as well. She has a video that she kind of goes, well, she does go over everything. And what happens is each month a different channel hosts the craft along, because it could be knit or crochet. And depending on what you make, you earn a certain amount of points. If you use the featured designer, which a new featured designer is chosen every month, then you get like bonus points. If you use paid for patterns, you get a little bit higher points. And if you used a free pattern, you still get points, but they're not as high as the paid for or the featured designer. And during this live, which for me comes on in about 30 minutes, it happens on Sundays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, they were doing a giveaway for it, for a couple of the patterns of the featured designer. And so I entered and I won. Hey, thank you. And I was gifted the pattern from Blue Rabbit Toys, who is right here. They have an Etsy store, which will be linked down below. And I was gifted one of their patterns, the Red Pill and Blue Pill. Now this pattern, when I first saw it, I thought it was adorable, but I wasn't sure how I was going to approach it, because the Red Pill, Blue Pill, it's a Matrix reference when Keanu Reeves is kind of introduced with Morpheus and he has the choice to take the red pill or the blue pill. But it also can have some references to political parties. And I didn't want to really do either one of those because So I made mine a happy pill because, well, I'm a happy person for the most part, and it just made it sound fun. So I went with a happy pill. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that things that make me happy are yarn, family, cats, animals, and outdoors. So I decided to make mine a happy pill with references to outdoors. I chose some yarn that I had in stash. This was actually from another crocheted make that I made a while back. I'll post it here. Oleg the Octopus. And this is my happy pill. So as you can see, I did a little bit of embroidery on it. Now, I am not very good at embroidering. In fact, this is probably the first time I've ever attempted to do embroidering besides just some eyes. And it's not very pretty, but it looks pretty okay, so I'm happy. So it has eyes because it's an allegory. It's supposed to be like a personification of some kind of object. It's a little being. And I did some trees on it. I put like a little embroidery house on it with a little chimney, and you can faintly see the white coming up as smoke. But there are trees. There's even some little pieces of green that I just kind of did little V-stitches for grass. I would love to say that I knew what I was doing with the embroidery. No idea. That is why my trees are very hideous. But I tried really, really hard. And I kind of wanted my house to look like kind of a mushroomy house. And I think it does that. And I like my little door. And overall, I'm very happy how this turned out. I probably should have put a little bit more stuffing in there. I always do tend to understuff some things. I don't like them overstuffed, but I never really find that happy medium. But I do kind of like the way he is 2 days, and that was not even working on it hardly at all. It was only 143 yards total, and I used Yarn Bee Sweet Divinity yarn, which is a worsted weight. However, it was very much a DK weight feel. The yarn is 80% acrylic, 20% nylon, and it comes in 243 yards, but again, it was left over from a previous project. And I used 71 yards of the Ocean Breeze and 72 yards of Uncharted Waters. I used a D 3.25 millimeter crochet hook because the fact that it was more of a DK to me than a worsted weight yarn. So the next thing I finished is my wall hanging. It had been in my queue for quite some time. And when I was making this, you're supposed to get a rod to put in to hang it on your wall. But if you've seen my community tab, you saw this really huge, gorgeous pine tree that we cut down. And we did that because my yarn barn is actually going to go a few feet from that area, and we were afraid that was going to fall on there, which would be like devastating once I get everything out there. Also, the tree is getting up in years and was losing branches, and we were always afraid it was going to fall on our house and our boys' bedrooms at, main part, because that's what it was really close to. So we decided to take the tree down. And when we did, there was plenty of limbs. And it was so crazy because I went out to find the perfect limb to hang this on. And I knew I wanted to get it down to the actual wood of the limb and get off the bark. And they had already taken the tree off and cut it up. So I got my boots on to walk all the way across the field to dig through this broken down tree and find the perfect limb. Halfway there in the middle of the field was this gorgeous piece of pine. It only had a little bit of the bark still on it. It was super easy to get it off, and I didn't even have to sand this. It was almost like it was meant to be, and it smells so good. I did clean it really good in soap and water, and I soaked it in some salt water just to make sure there was not any bugs alive in there, because that would be a freaky story. This is my blossom wall hanging. And I do have to go in and cut these so they're all even to make it look a little bit prettier, I think. I blocked mine. I'm using actual wool on mine. So this is 100% Sestari Traditional Collection wool. It is a Aran weight, and it's Targhee, Columbia, 170 yards, 100 grams, and I used pretty much all of it. There's just a little bit left that I'm going to tie and so I can hang it, but I really love how it turned out, and it smells just like some really good sheep. I cannot ask for a better piece. I was super excited just to see that laying there, it knew that this was what it was going to be. The pattern has instructions for 2 ways of doing it. You can make a wall hanging like this, and there's another one where people have actually turned it upside down and then put a hanging thing right here, and then put the tassels on the bottom and made it kind of like a rainbow, which is also a super cute idea. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I have a Sophie's on the hooks that I started way back in 2015 when this pattern was released. I picked it up in September, and I actually worked on it a good bit, and then I put it back down. And so when I saw that Carrie had this craft along going, crochet along, I knew it was the perfect opportunity for me to pick it back up and to hopefully get it completed, because I want this project. Not to mention, I would like to have it off of my WIPs on Ravelry and into the FO deck, because there's a lot of WIPs there. This is where I left off in September, actually. And then I completed all of these rows. I completed row 83 yesterday, and I will be working some more on this evening as I sit in the living room and watch TV. But I love how it's turning out. I did just do a YouTube short on this, so I'll link that. Actually, I can just link it right here, and then you can click it if you want to see it, because I kind of hold it up a little bit so you can see it better, because it's big and it's hard to hold up. But I'm using a bunch of acrylic worsted weight yarns, and some are thicker than others. And you can tell in some places. Well, you can't really tell, but I can tell when I'm using it. But I know that when I wash this and kind of lay it out and pull on it, it'll be fine, and kind of get a little blocking so all the stitches can relax. But it's been a really, really fun make. I do love that I've learned so much from making this as far as stitches. And then yesterday I was on a Zoom. We were talking about Sophie's, and I learned that I did not do the optional crab stitch on row 25. So I practiced it on the side, and I kind of hate that I didn't use it on row 25, but I may actually use it for the border because it was very interesting how it looked. I liked it. Yeah, so that's my Sophie's. I really am enjoying seeing the yarn that I'm using. This bag was really hard to close, but as I go through, the bag is getting bigger than the amount of yarn in it, which makes me very happy that I'm using stash, because this is a bunch of acrylic stash that I've had for a long time. This bag is actually something I crocheted many years ago. This was one of my first projects. It's got a big flat bottom, and I even lined it so that it wouldn't be so heavy and pull. But this is definitely one of my, and will forever be my crochet WIP bag, because it works perfectly for that. Another WIP that I have going on is something that I picked up about mid-January. I've always wanted to do a temperature blanket, and I know that, as you can see there, I kind of tend to get excited about starting a big blanket, and then it takes forever. So I didn't want to do that. And then I thought about making a temperature scarf, but I really don't wear scarves. I wear more shawls than I do scarves, which is why I haven't made that many. So I was just kind of like, I don't know. And then I was scrolling the interwebs, and what did I come across but a temperature snake? Yes, temperature snake amagori by Planet June. And I looked at the blog and I read through this, and I'm like, this is so, has my name written all over it. And so I started that. Now I am again using a bunch of random worsted weight yarns, acrylic, and I'm going to show you my color chart because I have a page of it in my planner. So these are all the colors that I'm using for it. I have 22 colors, 23 I think if you count the head, which is a gray. But it might be a little easier. And because I'm in Alabama and our temperature is like hot, hotter, ice, rain, I wanted to make it as varied as possible, so I'm doing mine in 5-degree increments. And that's why I have so many yarns. But it's the only way I can really get a lot of color in mine, I'm afraid. So I'm hoping this works out. And please excuse the horrible fingernail polish. I'm really not good at self-care, so I just kind of leave it until it falls off. I don't do girly girl very well. Not at all. But this is what I have so far. I just finished him up, so he is completely caught up as far as yesterday. I haven't done today's high yet because I haven't even looked. It's raining. I know that much. But I love how it's turning out. I am doing the larger one, which means he should be, I think, around 8 feet long when I'm done, which makes me super happy, because as soon as I saw that he was going to be a 8-foot long snake, I immediately knew what I was going to do with him. So in my yarn barn, which may get delivered this week, I know, I'm so excited, there are actually beams, rafters, because it has this huge vaulted ceiling and it has these support beams that go across, which I'm going to stain a pretty clear, like pine color, and I want to have him hanging on the rafters. I think that would be so pretty. But he is super cute. There is a tongue. I haven't made my tongue yet. I'm going to make that last. I'm not ready for him to have a tongue. And I haven't named him yet. But you can see my colors. Now, some of my yarns, so this is another thing about using random worsted weight yarns. This is a really old yarn that I'm using, and I don't know if you can tell, but I didn't realize it, but once I started using it, I'm realizing that it's a worsted weight, but it's very light worsted, possibly DK weight. And so when I use it, like especially here when it's right next to each other, when it's with another color, it's not as bad, but when I had to do these 2 rows right next to each other, it really kind of sunk in some. So I'm having to kind of like push that through and stuff it up to make it kind of even. I mean, it's not too noticeable, but it is a little bit different gauge. Also, in the pattern, she has you doing like this invisible join, which I love the invisible join, and then she says to hold the tail and kind of crochet over it. So I've been trying that in a few places, and you can tell it makes it a little bit thicker, and I don't like that at all. So I'm going to stop doing that process. Like I admit, it's a great fast way to kind of tackle the ends so they stay in, but I don't like the result of it. So what I'm doing is actually doing the invisible and then kind of just catching the back loop of a couple stitches and then catching some stitches down below, so there's not so much bulk in that one area on each round, because that's what's making like it kind of bigger in some parts. I don't think it's going to be noticeable, especially because he's going to be hanging from the rafters, and I still love it. But that's my weather thus far, and it has been really getting cold at night. Like our nighttime lows get like in the 30s, but not our overall days. So I kind of wish I'd actually done the whole thing in the lows so it'd be even more colorful. But I'm thinking, obviously as the year progresses, I'll actually get to use those lower colors, because they're about to be a thing of the past. So my other work in progress is a shawl that I cast on all the way back January 21st, 2020. And the reason I cast this on was a few days prior, on that Wednesday, I had lost a friend. Now, Michelle is someone who was all over the knitting and crochet community, and she was a super fast knitter and crocheter. She did amazing work. She even did some samples, a lot of sample pieces for Knit Picks. She was featured in Week Crochet magazine. She worked sometimes for Marley Bird. I mean, she was on it. And I had met Michelle through crafts. I can't even remember. I think it was Marley Bird podcast, maybe. I don't even know. And I've known her for many, 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 many years. Probably about as long as I've been on this journey. And she even came to my area and hung out one knit night with me at the local yarn store before it shut down with her mom. And she just was always this bright, energetic person. She was super fun to be around, very caring, very loving. She was an amazing mom. She was a homeschool mom. And the fall before she had passed, she was going through some things, and she was selling some of her yarn to raise some money. And I wanted to help support her, so I bought a bunch of her yarn from her. And it was close to my birthday, and so one of the things that she actually gave me was this yarn from Miss Babs. Because I bought a bunch of yarn, like a bunch of yarn from her. But the yarn is Yowza, so it's a light worsted weight yarn, and this is called Birthday Jubilee. And Birthday Jubilee is this pink super happy, crazy yarn with like every color in the rainbow in it. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. There's greens, there's blues, there's yellows, there's reds, there's oranges. You name it, it's in here. There's even black. I mean, it's every color. And this is a lot of yarn. So this is a, like I said, a light worsted weight. It is 560 yards, just 512 meters. And it's 8 ounces, 225 grams. And it's 100% superwash merino. I love Miss Babs yarn. I buy from Babs every single year on Christmas Day. I've done so since 2014. It's just something I do every year. Every year Babs has this sale on her website that starts on Christmas Day and it goes until the new year, and everything on her website is on sale. And every Christmas Day I get up first thing and I buy yarn. That's why I have a lot of Yelsa. But she had got this one year. I think she got this at a knitting event. It was a special dye yarn for Bab's birthday in 2018. And it was close to my birthday, so she gave it to me. And when she passed, I knew that I wanted to make something with some of the yarn that I had of hers to kind of work on as a memory, you know, and what better project than a shawl, so that way I can just, like, you know, snuggle up to a friend when I needed to. But she was a lot like this yarn, Michelle. She was always, like I said, very cheerful, very outgoing, and I thought it was a perfect representation of her life. Colorful, bright, and happy, and always bringing smiles. Even to people who do not like pink, and you know who I'm speaking to. So I cast this on, and it was really hard. I got emotional several days working on this, thinking about her as a mom, and, you know, and what her kids were going through, because our kids are the same age, and I couldn't even imagine, you know, what my kids would have to deal with, you know, at that age. And so it got hard, so I had to put it down. And then I picked it back up a couple days ago, and then I realized I had no idea where I was in the pattern. And I realized that when I had been working on it, I had messed up the pattern. It's probably during one of those trying to push through emotional times. So I just took it all out and I completely started over. And it was like, this time, it was just one of those things where it's just meant to be. Like, the pattern just clicked in my mind, and I don't even have to look at the paper this time, which is crazy because I was struggling so hard prior. But this is the Close to You shawl, and I will link this down below. It is a free pattern. It's an asymmetrical shawl. Now, it is important to note that, so this side where the teeth are is what has the eyelets. This side in the pattern is just supposed to be strict garter. But I don't like doing things the way they're supposed to be, so I am carrying out the eyelets all the way across. And I saw someone else to do this on their project, so I'm like, I like that. I think I'm going to do it too. But it's just really simple. I mean, it's easy to figure out. You just repeat what you're doing here all the way across, and it works out. And so when it gets blocked, this is superwash, so it's going to grow. It's going to, like, really have these eyelets. Now, I am using, the pattern calls for a size 6. And originally I had started off with a size 6, and when I took it out, I decided to go down to a size 5. And I like the fabric much better. And I'm using my Lantern Moon ebony wood needles that I had won from a giveaway from their channel. There's actually a whole video where I show off what I won. I'll link that right there if you want to check it out. I really am enjoying the ebony wood needles. So they are this black wood, and they have a decent tip on them. They're really nice. I don't find them grabby at all. And I really, really enjoy the cable. So the cable is kind of like the Chaigu bicycle cord. It's like gray though. But this is probably my favorite kind of cord to use for knitting shawls. I like it because it's kind of stiffer. Because to me it kind of helps support the weight of the shawl, and I'm not like fighting with it at the connections to get it around. But I'm really enjoying this project. This has completely become a bedtime knitting. because I can just sit there and work on it and I don't have to think. So it's great when we're watching TV in bed right before we fall asleep, but I'm trying to get to that kind of dozed off state. Now, another thing that I've kind of been working on is my Stephen West, although I have not worked on it much. I did bring in my 4th color because I added a different color. This is on some Shy Goon Eagles. I don't know what size these are, maybe a 3 or a 4. I can't see the writing right now. But I added the black. And I really need to work on this because I really do want this as a finished object. But I just get distracted with all the other things. But it will be completed. That swatch wall art that I'm doing in frames. I haven't made anything else out of it. You can see the 2 that I made right here. But I do have the frames to make 10 more things. I need to step that game up. I also have the Tile of the Week Thursday. Now this, I'll post a picture right here, here, and here of the ones I've made. Is a craft along that Memphis Makes. Sam is doing on their channel, and Mike. I will link them down below so you can check that out, and I will link their first video talking about that. I have the book, and while I do enjoy making those, it's just not something that I am enjoying enough to really continue on full time. So I may go through and randomly make some tiles when I want like a smaller project, almost like a little dessert, but it's not something that like is pulling my heart. Then I have my friendly Annie the Deer. I actually am almost done with it. I really just need to buckle down and get that done. I have to make the collar and I have to make the ears, and I think that's really about it on that. Now, as far as future projects, because I do have an idea of what I want to do. Because of Amagori Wars, depending on who the featured designer is each month, I really want to work on my Toft kits. My husband so graciously ordered me so many Toft kits for my birthday, and I need to complete them. He bought them last year, or was it this year? I don't know. Either last year or the year before. But he ordered me a lot of Toft kits. So in this box it has the yarn and the patterns to make all these little seedlings. So there's this one, there's this one, there's this one, that one, that one, and that one. And I love plants, so I really want to make these. And then he bought me the kits of the snake plant and then the mother of pearls, which has all these, I mean, it's just gorgeous. So I think I'm going to start working on those for Amagori Wars in between the designers that maybe I don't find something that I really like, or if I can try to squeeze out 2 entries a month, which that would be ideal. If I can do one from the featured designer and then one of these creations, I think that would be superb. And this is such a cute kit because it comes with this like really nice box, and it comes with all these wool yarns. And these are delightful. So these are 100% wool made in the UK. They're 55 grams, or 55 meters, 60 yards a piece. And they're brand yarn. And so that is what I'm planning to do because I just really love these. And speaking of Amagori, I just posted this really long, I know it's really super long, I'm sorry, but it's a really pretty good detailed book review of some of my favorite Amagori books that you can see right here.